The courtroom was quiet, almost too quiet. Everyone waited with their eyes fixed on a small figure near the front. Her name was Mina, a little girl of 7. She had bright eyes full of determination and wore a neat dress with a small ribbon tied at her hair. Beside her sat a large golden retriever, its fur shining under the bright lights. The dog's calm expression did not match its size. Its name was Bruno, and everyone who saw him knew he was more than just a pet. Bruno had a special training, though few people outside Mina's family understood how remarkable he really was. Mina's father, Mr. Harris, adjusted his tie nervously. He glanced at his daughter and her dog, feeling a mixture of pride and worry. The case that day was unusual. It was not about theft, fraud, or any violent crime. It was about proving the truth in a situation that seemed impossible to many adults. Mina's mother, Mrs. Harris, gave her husband a reassuring smile. She had learned to trust Bruno just like Mina had. The judge, an elderly man with kind eyes, looked over his glasses at Mina. "Are you ready, young lady?" he asked. His voice was calm, but it carried a sense of authority that made even adults straighten in their seats. Mina nodded seriously. She looked down at Bruno, who wagged his tail slowly, as if telling her that everything would be fine. The prosecutor stood and began to speak, describing the situation in a formal, careful manner. He told the courtroom about an important item that had gone missing. It was not very valuable in terms of money, but it carried great meaning to the family it belonged to. Many people in the courtroom whispered to each other. They could not understand how a 7-year-old girl and her dog could be part of something so serious. Mina listened quietly. She did not fidget or look around. Instead, she focused on Bruno, who sat perfectly still at her side. The prosecutor described the events that led to the item's disappearance. He mentioned how difficult it was for investigators to find any clues. People had searched everywhere, but there seemed to be no evidence. The courtroom gasped quietly when he explained that even security cameras had not recorded anything. After the prosecutor finished, it was time for Mina to act. She stood up slowly, holding a small paper in her hand. Everyone in the courtroom leaned forward, curious. Mina's voice was soft but clear. "I can show you where it is," she said. Some people looked surprised. Others whispered to each other. How could a little girl know where the missing item was? Mina turned slightly and gave Bruno a small hand signal. It was almost invisible, but anyone watching closely could see it. Bruno reacted immediately. He lifted his paw and then looked back at Mina as if to ask for confirmation. Mina nodded. Then, in a movement that was calm and confident, Bruno stepped forward. The courtroom watched in silence. Bruno walked to a spot near the front of the room, sniffing the floor carefully. He moved in a straight line, guided by Mina's signals. Each step seemed purposeful. Some adults exchanged looks of disbelief. They had seen many dogs before, but none had behaved with such precision in a place like a courtroom. Mina explained to the judge what Bruno was doing. "Bruno can find things that people cannot see. He knows where to look when I signal him." She spoke without fear. Her voice carried a quiet strength that surprised many. The judge nodded slowly. He had seen young children in court before, but Mina's calmness and Bruno's training made this situation unlike anything he had experienced. Bruno stopped at a corner near a bench. He sat down and looked back at Mina. She knelt beside him and whispered something. Then Bruno moved again, this time toward a small cabinet that no one had thought to check. The courtroom fell completely silent. The tension was so thick that even the air seemed heavy. With a gentle paw, Bruno touched the cabinet. Mina reached out and slowly opened it. Inside, wrapped carefully in a soft cloth, was the missing item. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. People could not believe their eyes. A little girl and her dog had solved a problem that had puzzled adults for days. Mina smiled shyly and looked at Bruno. She gave him another small hand signal, and he sat obediently beside her again. The judge stood and looked at the item. He then looked at Mina and said, "Young lady, your courage and your dog's intelligence have shown us something remarkable today. You may be young, but your understanding is beyond your years." Mina's parents felt their hearts swell with pride. They had always known that Bruno was special, but seeing him work in a courtroom with their daughter made them realize just how extraordinary their partnership was. Bruno wagged his tail happily, sensing the positive energy from everyone in the room. The prosecutor, though surprised, smiled and said, "I must admit I did not expect this outcome. Your dog has proven to be incredibly trained. Young lady, you and your companion have helped uncover the truth." His voice carried respect. Even the other adults in the room began to clap quietly, some standing to show their admiration. Mina held Bruno's leash tightly and whispered, "Good job, Bruno, you were amazing." Bruno leaned his head gently against her hand, as if understanding every word. People in the courtroom began to ask questions about how Bruno had learned such skills. Mina's parents explained that Bruno had been trained for months with patience, love, and careful guidance. He could follow subtle signals and had an incredible sense of smell and observation. The judge nodded. "It is rare to see such a bond between a child and a dog. This partnership has taught us all an important lesson about trust, patience, and teamwork. I believe your actions today will be remembered for a long time." Mina blushed slightly. She did not like being the center of attention, but she knew that Bruno had done something amazing and she was proud of him. People in the courtroom continued to murmur in amazement. Some had expected a formal and ordinary trial, but they had witnessed something extraordinary. A 7-year-old girl and her dog had solved a real-life mystery in front of everyone. Outside the courtroom, reporters and camera crews waited eagerly. They had heard about the unusual case, but no one could imagine the scene they would witness. Mina and Bruno walked out together, hand in paw, with her parents following closely. People on the street stopped and stared. Some cheered quietly. Others whispered about the incredible dog who could follow a little girl's signals to find something hidden. Mina's father lifted her up slightly to carry her over a small puddle. "You were amazing today," he said. "Bruno, too." Mina hugged him and then looked down at Bruno, who wagged his tail as if to say, "We did it together." The story spread quickly. Everyone talked about the girl and her dog who had stunned an entire courtroom. People could not stop asking how a dog could follow subtle signals and find something hidden in such a precise way. Experts said it was rare and remarkable. Families began to talk about the bond between children and animals. They realized that sometimes the smallest heroes could make the biggest differences. That night, Mina and her family sat together at home. Bruno rested his head on Mina's lap. She petted him gently, feeling grateful for his loyalty and intelligence. Mina's parents smiled, feeling thankful for the day's events. They knew this story would remain in their hearts forever. Mina whispered softly, "Thank you, Bruno. We make a great team." Bruno closed his eyes, content and proud of what they had accomplished together. It was a day of amazement, pride, and discovery. The courtroom would remember it. The people outside would remember it, and most importantly, Mina and Bruno had proven that courage, trust, and careful teamwork could achieve the impossible. The morning after the courtroom incident, Mina woke up feeling excited. She could still remember the faces of the people who had watched her and Bruno. They had been shocked, surprised, and amazed all at once. Mina stretched her small arms and looked at Bruno, who was already awake, wagging his tail. He seemed to understand that today was going to be another special day. Mina's parents were in the kitchen preparing breakfast. They smiled when they saw her enter the room. "Good morning, little hero," said her mother, handing Mina a plate with toast and fruit. Mina giggled, feeling a little embarrassed by the praise, but she knew Bruno would never let her forget what they had done yesterday. Bruno sat patiently by her chair, waiting for a small piece of toast which Mina gladly shared. After breakfast, Mina's father spoke gently. "The story about you and Bruno has spread everywhere. Reporters are already calling. Some people want to interview you. Are you ready for that?" Mina thought for a moment. She liked attention only if it was necessary, and she did not like being in front of cameras. But she also knew that telling people about Bruno could help others understand how amazing he was. "I will do it," she said quietly. By mid-morning, the Harris family arrived at a local news station. The studio was busy with cameras, lights, and reporters talking quickly. Mina held Bruno's leash tightly, feeling calm but alert. Bruno seemed calm too, as if he knew that nothing would go wrong. The reporter, a kind woman named Ms. Keller, smiled at Mina. "Hello, Mina. Hello, Bruno. Thank you for coming. Everyone is very curious about your story." Mina nodded and spoke softly. "Bruno is my friend. We practice together every day. I give him small signals and he knows how to follow them. That is how we solved the problem in the courtroom." The reporter's eyes widened in surprise. She had expected a young child to be shy, but Mina spoke with clarity and confidence. Bruno sat obediently, waiting for her next words. Ms. Keller asked, "Can you show us an example of what Bruno can do?" Mina looked at her parents. They nodded. Mina then moved to a corner of the studio and gave Bruno a subtle hand signal. Bruno reacted immediately. He walked carefully to a small box that was hidden behind a chair. He pawed at it gently, then looked back at Mina. She smiled and opened the box. Inside was a small toy that had been placed there by the producers for the demonstration. The camera crews and reporters were amazed. They clapped and whispered. Bruno's intelligence, combined with Mina's calm guidance, had created a remarkable display. Mina explained, "Bruno can find things by smell and by following my signals. We practice every day, and I always make sure he understands what I want him to do." The interviews lasted for several hours. Mina answered questions about Bruno's training, his personality, and how much she loved him. Bruno stayed patient and gentle the entire time. People began to understand that their bond was more than a pet and a child. It was a partnership built on trust, practice, and care. After leaving the news station, Mina and her parents walked in the park. The sun was warm and the air was fresh. Children were playing, and some stopped to stare at Bruno. Mina waved politely and explained, "This is Bruno. He is my dog, and he helps me find things." Some parents asked questions about his training. Mina's father replied, "Bruno is trained carefully and Mina gives him clear signals. They work together as a team." While walking, Mina noticed a small commotion near the playground. A woman looked worried and was calling for help. Mina and her parents approached her. "What is wrong?" asked Mrs. Harris gently. The woman explained that her small cat named Whiskers had climbed a tall tree and could not get down. She had tried everything, but Whiskers was too scared. Mina thought for a moment. She looked at Bruno, who tilted his head ready for instructions. "Bruno can help," Mina said. The woman looked surprised. Mina gave Bruno a hand signal, and he ran calmly to the base of the tree. He sniffed the ground and then looked up. Mina guided him with her signals, and Bruno barked softly, not loudly enough to scare the cat. The woman watched, amazed. She had expected a small child and dog to be helpless, but Bruno seemed confident and careful. Bruno climbed carefully onto a low branch, then paused. Mina guided him again. He did not rush. He moved steadily, each step showing his training and intelligence. The cat Whiskers seemed to trust Bruno. Slowly, Bruno nudged the cat gently toward a lower branch, then down to the woman's arms. She gasped and hugged her cat. "Thank you." "I cannot believe it. You and your dog saved Whiskers." Mina smiled shyly and patted Bruno. "We practice together. Bruno knows what to do when I guide him," she said. People nearby watched quietly, impressed by the careful teamwork. Mina's parents felt proud. They realized that Bruno's skills were not just for special events or courtrooms. He could help people in everyday life too. After the incident in the park, Mina and her family returned home. The news about their day spread quickly, and soon many people sent letters and messages of praise. Some asked about training their own dogs. Mina and her parents replied politely, explaining that it took patience, trust, and love. Bruno had a natural talent, but it was also the guidance and practice with Mina that made him remarkable. That evening, Mina's parents sat down with her and discussed what had happened. "Mina," her father said gently, "today you showed kindness and bravery. Not everyone can do what you did. Bruno's amazing, but so are you. You worked together to help someone in need." Mina looked thoughtful. "I just wanted to help. Bruno and I always try to help when we can," she replied simply. Bruno, sensing the calm and happy atmosphere, rested his head on Mina's lap. She petted him slowly, feeling grateful for his loyalty and intelligence. The bond between them was not only strong but also growing stronger every day. Mina realized that they were not just a little girl and her dog. They were a team capable of facing challenges together. The next day brought more surprises. A local school invited Mina to give a small talk about her partnership with Bruno. Children listened eagerly as Mina explained how signals, patience, and trust helped her guide Bruno. Bruno stayed quietly beside her, sometimes wagging his tail when he heard applause or laughter. The children were amazed that a dog could understand so much from small hand movements and signals. Mina explained carefully, "Bruno knows what I want when I give him signals. He is very smart, but you have to practice with your dog and be gentle. You cannot rush or yell. You have to be kind and patient." The teachers nodded, impressed by her explanation. The children asked questions, and Mina answered politely. Bruno even demonstrated finding a small toy hidden behind a curtain. The children clapped, and some hugged their own pets at home, thinking about how they could try similar training. By the end of the day, Mina and her family returned home, tired but happy. Bruno curled up in his favorite corner, looking peaceful. Mina lay down beside him and whispered softly, "Thank you, Bruno. We helped people today. You are amazing." Bruno licked her hand gently, showing his affection and pride. That night, Mina thought about what had happened in the courtroom and at the park. She realized that their bond was unique and valuable. It was not just about showing skills. It was about helping people, being brave, and trusting each other completely. She closed her eyes and smiled, feeling ready for whatever challenges might come next. In the days that followed, Mina and Bruno became known in their town as a remarkable team. People admired their partnership, but Mina remained humble. She knew that Bruno's abilities were extraordinary, but what mattered most was that they worked together to make life better for others. And with that thought, Mina drifted into a peaceful sleep, dreaming of new adventures she and Bruno would face together. A week had passed since Mina and Bruno had amazed the courtroom and helped the frightened cat in the park. Their story had spread far and wide, and people in the town now recognized them everywhere they went. Children waved enthusiastically, adults smiled in admiration, and reporters occasionally stopped by to ask more questions. But Mina and Bruno were used to this attention. They stayed calm, knowing that their focus was always on helping and working together. One bright morning, Mina's father came into the kitchen carrying a letter. He looked puzzled as he unfolded it. "Mina," he said, "we received a letter from the local community center. They say there is an urgent problem and they want you and Bruno to help." Mina's eyes widened. She loved helping people, but she also felt a little nervous. The note mentioned a special situation involving a lost child in the nearby forest. Mina felt a mix of excitement and concern. She looked at Bruno, who wagged his tail calmly, sensing her emotions. "Let's go," Mina said softly. Bruno stood immediately alert and ready. The family quickly packed some essentials: water, snacks, a small first aid kit, and a map of the forest area. Mina's parents accompanied her, knowing that the forest could be tricky to navigate. Bruno walked beside Mina, sniffing the ground as if he already understood the importance of the mission. When they arrived at the community center, a group of worried adults gathered outside. One of them, a volunteer named Mr. Lewis, explained the situation. "A little boy named Timmy has wandered into the forest. He was playing near the edge and disappeared. We have searched everywhere, but we cannot find him. We heard about your work with Bruno and hoped you could help." Mina listened carefully, her small hands gripping Bruno's leash. She looked up at the adults and spoke with confidence. "Bruno and I will try. We can find him if we work together." The volunteers led Mina and Bruno to the forest entrance. The trees were tall and dense, and sunlight filtered through the leaves in soft patches. Bruno sniffed the air, moving in small circles to gather information. Mina gave him a signal, and he followed the scent trail toward a narrow path. Her heart beat quickly. She had never faced a situation like this before, but she trusted Bruno completely. As they walked deeper into the forest, Mina noticed small clues: a toy truck near a bush, a footprint in the soft dirt, and some broken branches that suggested someone had passed through. She pointed these out to Bruno with small gestures. Bruno responded immediately, adjusting his direction and slowing down whenever he needed to examine the trail. The teamwork between them was seamless. Meanwhile, the adults stayed behind at the forest entrance, communicating by phone and waiting for news. They trusted Mina and Bruno because they had seen what they could do, but the tension was high. Every rustling leaf or distant sound made them anxious. The forest was large and time was critical. Mina knew that they had to move carefully and stay focused. After walking for several minutes, Bruno stopped suddenly. He raised his nose and sniffed the air intensely. Mina gave him a small nod. He moved carefully toward a dense patch of trees, pausing and looking back at her for confirmation. Mina whispered softly, "Good job. Bruno, keep going." They continued, and soon through the trees, Mina spotted a small figure sitting on a fallen log. It was Timmy. His clothes were slightly dirty, and he looked frightened, but he was unharmed. Mina approached slowly, holding Bruno close. "Hello, Timmy," she said gently. "Don't be scared. My name is Mina, and this is Bruno. We are here to help you." Timmy's eyes widened in surprise and relief. He took a small step forward and said softly, "Are you really the girl from the news?" Mina smiled and nodded. Bruno wagged his tail and sniffed Timmy carefully, making sure he was safe. Timmy reached out and patted Bruno's head. "He is so gentle," the boy said. Mina knelt beside him. "Yes, Bruno is very careful. He will help us get you back safely." She held Bruno's leash tightly and gave him a small signal. Bruno moved ahead, guiding the way back while keeping a safe distance from Timmy. The return journey through the forest required careful attention. Some areas were narrow, with roots and branches that could trip a child. Mina stayed close to Timmy, encouraging him to walk steadily while Bruno led the way and paused whenever he sensed an obstacle. The partnership was remarkable. Bruno's intelligence and Mina's guidance made the path safe, and Timmy began to feel calmer. After a few tense minutes, the group emerged from the forest. The volunteers and Timmy's parents ran toward them, relieved and grateful. Timmy's mother hugged her son tightly. "Thank you. Thank you so much, Mina and Bruno," she said, tears in her eyes. Timmy's father knelt beside Mina and said, "You saved our son. We cannot believe how brave and clever you both are." Mina blushed slightly and patted Bruno. "We just worked together," she said simply. Bruno, sensing the joy and relief, wagged his tail happily. He licked Timmy's hand gently. Everyone laughed softly at his affectionate behavior. The adults realized that what they had witnessed was not just about skill. It was about trust, teamwork, and care. Mina and Bruno had shown that even a small child and her dog could achieve something extraordinary when they worked together. The story of the forest rescue spread quickly through the town. Children admired Mina, and many began to think about how they could care for and train their own pets. Adults were impressed by the calmness and intelligence required to handle such a situation. Reporters who had covered the courtroom incident returned to cover the forest rescue. Mina and Bruno demonstrated how signals and careful guidance helped them succeed. That evening, back at home, Mina sat with her parents and Timmy's parents, who had come to thank them in person. Mina's father said, "Mina, today you and Bruno showed courage and responsibility. You remained calm and focused even in a scary situation. That is truly remarkable." Mina nodded, feeling proud but not boastful. She knew that Bruno had been the most important part of their success. Timmy's parents gave Mina a small gift, a handmade bracelet with a charm shaped like a paw. "This is to remind you of Bruno and the wonderful teamwork you share," said his mother. Mina smiled and accepted it carefully. She held Bruno's leash and whispered, "This is for both of us." Bruno rested his head gently on her lap, sensing the importance of the moment. The next day, Mina returned to school. Her classmates crowded around her, asking questions and praising her bravery. Mina answered politely, explaining how Bruno followed her signals and how they had found Timmy. Some children asked if their own dogs could do the same. Mina explained carefully that it required patience, practice, and trust. She reminded them that dogs were intelligent but needed gentle guidance to perform tasks safely. Even the teachers were impressed. Mrs. Palmer, the school principal, said, "Mina, you have taught us all an important lesson. Bravery is not just about facing danger. It is about helping others and staying calm when it matters most. Bruno is extraordinary, but your teamwork makes him even more remarkable." Mina smiled and patted Bruno, who lay quietly at her feet, happy to be part of their growing adventures. That afternoon, Mina and Bruno played in their backyard. They practiced small exercises, hiding toys and using signals, not because anyone required it, but because they enjoyed working together. Bruno loved the attention and exercise, and Mina loved seeing him succeed. Their bond grew stronger every day, and Mina realized that their teamwork could face any challenge, no matter how big or small. At night, Mina thought about the forest rescue and the courtroom incident. She realized that her partnership with Bruno was rare and valuable. They had helped people, solved problems, and faced challenges with calm determination. She hugged Bruno gently and whispered, "We are ready for anything, aren't we?" Bruno licked her hand in agreement. Mina felt a sense of peace. She knew that together, they could face the next challenge no matter how unexpected it might be. The town had begun to see Mina and Bruno not just as a child and a dog, but as a team capable of extraordinary things. People admired their courage, patience, and intelligence. Children looked up to them as heroes, while adults marveled at their partnership. Mina and Bruno had proven that even in difficult situations, careful thinking, practice, and trust could solve problems that seemed impossible. Mina went to bed that night feeling proud but humble. She thought about all the people they had helped and all the adventures that might come next. Bruno curled up beside her, breathing softly and peacefully. Mina knew that no matter what challenge awaited, she and Bruno would face it together, as a team built on love, trust, and determination. The town was buzzing with excitement. After the courtroom success and the forest rescue, Mina and Bruno had become local heroes. People greeted them wherever they went. Children wanted to see Bruno's tricks, and adults often stopped to ask about his training. But Mina and Bruno were calm, as if the attention did not change their purpose. They knew that helping others was more important than fame. One morning, Mina's father came into her room holding a letter. "Mina," he said, "there is an invitation for you and Bruno from the town hall. They want you to participate in a community safety demonstration." Mina's eyes sparkled with curiosity. She had helped people before, but this would be in front of a large crowd including officials and reporters. She looked at Bruno, who wagged his tail ready for another challenge. At the town hall, a crowd had gathered. Parents, children, and officials filled the room. The mayor stood near the stage and welcomed Mina and Bruno. "We are proud of Mina and her remarkable dog, Bruno," he said. "Today they will show everyone how teamwork, patience, and intelligence can help in emergencies." Mina felt a little nervous, but focused. She knew Bruno could handle any situation if she guided him carefully. The first demonstration involved a scenario where a child had accidentally locked themselves in a small storage room. Mina explained calmly. Bruno can locate the child safely and help guide them out. She gave Bruno a small hand signal. Bruno moved quickly, sniffing the floor, and then paused near the storage room door. Mina guided him again, and he nudged the door carefully with his nose. A small boy peeked out and smiled. The crowd clapped and cheered. Next, the mayor presented a more challenging task. He explained that a valuable package had gone missing in the town hall. It was hidden somewhere in the large building. Mina's parents looked slightly concerned. The area was crowded, and finding the item quickly would be difficult. Mina knelt beside Bruno and whispered instructions. She gave him a subtle signal, and he began moving slowly, sniffing carefully. Bruno's senses worked perfectly. He weaved through the crowd, avoiding obstacles, and stopped in front of a cabinet. He pawed gently and looked back at Mina. She opened the cabinet to reveal the missing package. The room erupted in applause. People could not believe that a dog, guided only by a young girl's signals, could locate an item so quickly and accurately. After the package demonstration, a volunteer asked Mina to show how Bruno could respond in a real-life emergency. Mina thought for a moment. She then suggested a scenario where someone was pretending to be trapped under a fallen chair. Bruno watched carefully as Mina gave a small hand signal. He moved to the chair, sniffed the area, and nudged it gently. The trapped person popped up smiling, and the audience laughed. Bruno wagged his tail proudly, sensing their happiness. The mayor and other officials were impressed. "Mina, Bruno, you have shown us something extraordinary today," said the mayor. "Your teamwork teaches us that preparation, patience, and calm thinking can solve many problems. We are proud to have you in our community." Mina blushed slightly but patted Bruno proudly. Bruno responded with a gentle lick on her hand, showing their bond and understanding. After the demonstrations, reporters crowded around Mina and her family. One reporter asked, "Mina, how do you guide Bruno so well?" Mina smiled. "I give him small signals with my hands and stay calm. Bruno listens carefully and trusts me. We practice together every day." Another reporter asked, "Bruno, do you enjoy helping people?" Bruno barked softly, wagging his tail. The crowd laughed and clapped. As the event continued, a sudden call came over the mayor's phone. A delivery van had lost control and stopped near a busy intersection. People nearby were concerned and traffic was blocked. The mayor turned to Mina. "Could you and Bruno help guide the pedestrians and alert drivers safely?" Mina nodded quickly. She ran outside with Bruno and the crowd followed. On the street, Bruno observed the area carefully. Mina guided him with small hand signals. He barked gently to alert pedestrians and walked steadily toward the drivers, signaling them to stop carefully. Children were moved out of the way and adults followed Bruno's guidance. Traffic slowed down, and the dangerous situation became safe within minutes. People cheered and thanked them. Mina and Bruno had handled a real-life emergency without panic. Later that afternoon, the town hall held a small ceremony to honor Mina and Bruno. Certificates of appreciation were presented to both. Mina's parents were proud. They watched as Mina and Bruno received applause and smiles from everyone. Mina whispered to Bruno, "We did it again. Bruno, people are safe because of us." Bruno leaned his head gently against her shoulder, as if understanding every word. The news about the town hall demonstration spread quickly. Families in the town began thinking about how they could prepare for emergencies and work with their pets safely. Mina and Bruno had inspired people to trust in teamwork, calm thinking, and careful preparation. Teachers began teaching children about responsibility and care, using Mina and Bruno as examples. That evening, Mina and her family returned home. Mina sat on the porch with Bruno watching the sunset. She reflected on the events of the day. Helping people in real situations was different from practice or demonstrations. It required focus, patience, and courage. Bruno had been remarkable, but so had she. Their partnership had grown stronger with every challenge. Mina's father said, "Today, Mina, you and Bruno showed everyone that even small heroes can make a big difference. You both stayed calm and handled everything perfectly." Mina nodded, feeling proud but humble. "We just try our best together," she said. Bruno wagged his tail, resting his head on her lap. The next day, Mina returned to school. Children crowded around her, asking questions about the demonstrations. Mina explained carefully how she used hand signals, how Bruno followed her guidance, and how practice and patience helped them succeed. Some children were inspired to train their own pets, while others simply admired the bond between Mina and Bruno. Teachers praised Mina for her humility and courage. They reminded students that helping others was more important than recognition or praise. Mina listened quietly, smiling. She knew that Bruno had helped her, but she also realized that their teamwork could teach people valuable lessons about kindness, patience, and responsibility. Over the following week, Mina and Bruno continued their practice. They hid small items in the backyard, practiced signals, and reinforced safe behavior. Bruno enjoyed the activities, and Mina found joy in guiding him. Their bond was stronger than ever, and each day brought new lessons and understanding. One evening, Mina's mother called her inside. "Mina, there is someone visiting tomorrow. They want to see how Bruno works and learn about your partnership." Mina felt a spark of curiosity. She wondered who it could be. Bruno wagged his tail, sensing Mina's excitement. Mina knew that whatever challenge or audience came next, she and Bruno were ready. That night, Mina lay in bed reflecting on the past weeks. The courtroom, the forest, and the town hall had taught her that courage was not about being fearless, but about staying calm, thinking clearly, and helping others. Bruno's loyalty and intelligence had been a gift, but their teamwork had made everything possible. Mina whispered softly, "Tomorrow we will be ready for anything, Bruno." Bruno responded with a soft bark, as if agreeing wholeheartedly. The town now looked at Mina and Bruno with admiration and respect. They were more than a child and her dog. They were a team capable of facing challenges, helping people, and inspiring others. Mina understood that their journey was only beginning, and with Bruno by her side, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The day had arrived. Mina and Bruno were about to face their most important challenge yet. A special ceremony had been organized at the town auditorium. People from neighboring towns, reporters, and officials were all present. They had heard of Mina and Bruno's previous successes and were eager to witness what they could do. The air was filled with excitement and curiosity. Mina stood at the front with Bruno at her side. She took a deep breath and felt his warm presence beside her. Bruno wagged his tail, calm and ready. The mayor stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "today we have a very special demonstration. Mina and her dog Bruno have already amazed us in the courtroom, in the forest, and at the town hall. Today they will face a challenge that will require courage, intelligence, and teamwork." The crowd applauded warmly. Mina felt a mixture of pride and nervousness, but she focused on Bruno. She knew that together they could succeed. The scenario was explained. A model of a small building had been prepared on the stage. Hidden inside were objects representing important items, and small obstacles were placed around them. The goal was to locate and retrieve the items while navigating the obstacles safely. The challenge was designed to test not just Bruno's skills but also Mina's ability to guide him under pressure. Mina knelt beside Bruno. "We can do this, Bruno," she whispered softly. He responded with a gentle bark, his eyes bright and alert. Mina raised her hand in a subtle signal. Bruno moved carefully, sniffing the area, analyzing the obstacles. Every step was deliberate. He paused before a small barrier, then nudged it aside gently to continue. Mina guided him with tiny hand movements, giving him the confidence to proceed. The audience watched in silence, fascinated by the precision and calmness of the pair. Mina pointed toward the first hidden object. Bruno sniffed carefully and then picked up a small toy safely, bringing it to Mina. She placed it on a designated spot, signaling that it was found. The crowd clapped quietly, impressed by their coordination. Next, the challenge became more difficult. The second object was hidden behind a series of miniature walls and ramps. Bruno approached carefully, pausing to assess each obstacle. Mina guided him with small, calm movements. He climbed gently, avoiding obstacles, and finally retrieved the item without knocking anything over. The audience gasped in amazement. They had never seen a dog work with such precision, guided only by a child's signals. Mina's confidence grew with each success. She realized that the teamwork she and Bruno shared could overcome any obstacle. The third challenge required Bruno to find a small bag hidden in a more complex section of the model. Mina signaled him with a combination of gestures and subtle nods. Bruno paused, sniffed, and then moved with determination. He navigated the small passageways carefully, retrieved the bag, and returned to Mina. The audience erupted in applause. Even the mayor was astonished. "This is extraordinary," he said. "Mina, Bruno, your partnership is beyond belief. You have shown everyone that courage, intelligence, and calm teamwork can achieve remarkable results." Mina smiled and patted Bruno gently. Bruno wagged his tail proudly, sensing the pride and happiness surrounding them. The final part of the demonstration was the most challenging. It involved a small maze, filled with miniature obstacles and distractions. The items to be retrieved were hidden, and Bruno could not rely solely on smell. He had to follow Mina's guidance carefully while navigating the maze safely. Mina knelt, took a deep breath, and signaled Bruno to start. Bruno entered the maze, moving with careful precision. He paused at corners, looked back at Mina for confirmation, and followed her signals exactly. Mina adjusted her guidance subtly, helping him find the safest path. The audience watched in complete silence, completely captivated. Every movement showed the trust and understanding between Mina and Bruno. Halfway through the maze, Bruno stopped suddenly. Mina signaled him to continue, and he found the next hidden item, bringing it to her without touching any obstacles. Mina's heart swelled with pride. She whispered, "Good job." "Bruno, one more to go." Bruno barked softly in agreement and moved toward the final section of the maze. The final item was hidden in a small area surrounded by obstacles that required careful maneuvering. Bruno approached cautiously, sniffing and analyzing the situation. Mina signaled gently, guiding him through the tight spaces. He picked up the item carefully, making sure not to disturb anything else. The audience watched, completely mesmerized. Bruno returned to Mina and dropped the item safely in front of her. The auditorium erupted with applause, cheers, and whistles. People stood clapping and smiling. They had witnessed something truly remarkable. Mina knelt beside Bruno, hugged him gently, and whispered, "We did it, Bruno. You were amazing." Bruno leaned against her, wagging his tail, happy to be praised. The mayor stepped forward once again. "Mina and Bruno have not only impressed us with their skill but also inspired us all. They have shown us the value of patience, teamwork, and trust. Today we celebrate their extraordinary partnership." Mina blushed but smiled. Bruno licked her hand gently, showing his affection and understanding. After the demonstration, reporters and visitors asked questions about their training and experiences. Mina explained carefully how she guided Bruno with small signals, how patience and practice were essential, and how they always focused on helping and staying calm. Bruno demonstrated a few small exercises, impressing everyone even more. Children and adults alike watched in admiration, inspired by the partnership between a young girl and her dog. Later that evening, Mina returned home with her parents. Bruno followed closely, tired but happy. Mina sat on the porch reflecting on the day. She thought about all the challenges they had faced: the courtroom, the forest rescue, the town hall demonstration, and now the public ceremony. Each time their teamwork and trust had made the impossible possible, Mina's father sat beside her. "Mina, you have shown everyone what true courage and intelligence look like. You and Bruno have inspired the entire town." Mina smiled softly. "We just try our best together," she said. Bruno rested his head on her lap, sensing the calm and happiness around them. That night, Mina went to bed thinking about the future. She knew that new challenges might come, but she also knew that with Bruno by her side, they could face anything. Their partnership was strong, built on trust, practice, and care. She whispered to Bruno, "We are ready for whatever comes next." Bruno gave a soft bark in response, as if agreeing wholeheartedly. The next morning, the town woke up to news stories, photos, and videos of Mina and Bruno's incredible demonstration. People admired them not only for their skill, but also for their humility, kindness, and courage. Children talked about their favorite parts of the performance, and adults discussed the lessons of teamwork and careful preparation they could learn from the pair. In the weeks that followed, Mina and Bruno continued to practice, explore, and help their community whenever they could. They visited schools, helped with small rescues, and trained together every day. Their bond grew stronger, and their skills became even more remarkable. Mina understood that helping others and working carefully as a team was the greatest achievement of all. One evening, Mina sat on the porch with Bruno, watching the sunset paint the sky in golden colors. She reflected on the journey they had shared. From the courtroom to the forest, from small emergencies to large public demonstrations, each experience had taught her something new about courage, patience, and the special bond she shared with Bruno. Mina whispered softly, "Bruno, we have done amazing things together, and we will continue to do more. There is nothing we cannot face if we trust each other." Bruno rested his head on her lap, closing his eyes, calm and content. Mina smiled, feeling a sense of peace. She knew that as long as they had each other, they could face any challenge and inspire others along the way. The town would always remember Mina and Bruno, not just for their cleverness and bravery, but for the love, trust, and teamwork that made their partnership extraordinary. They were more than a girl and her dog. They were a team capable of achieving the impossible, proving that even the smallest heroes could leave the greatest impact. And so, Mina and Bruno continued their adventures, quietly inspiring everyone around them, showing that courage, patience, and trust could solve problems, bring happiness, and make the world a better place, one small step at a time.